Case study, which is talking about the powering of ZESCO in the energy crisis. So the case study, in a nutshell, looks at the shadows, looks at 7 chapters, shadows over the bright land. Zambia, a rich of copper deposits, majestic waterfalls, and ambitious young population has long nurtured dreams of industrialization. For decades, the nation envisioned itself as a beacon of regional progress, using its abundant natural resources to power growth, uplift millions from poverty. Yet, as the sun rose each day over the Lusaka's dusky skyline and bathed the rolling hills of the copper belts in gold, the nation's optimism was increasing, being dimmed by an all-consuming crisis, a persistent and paralyzing energy shortage. Second chapter looks at heavy reliance over the river. So to understand Zambia's energy woes, one must trace the river. Literally, more than 80% of the country's electricity generation was historically dependent on hydropower. The mighty Zambezi, through the iconic power stations such as the Kariba, North Bank, Kafue Gorge, had faithfully fueled the national grid for decades. These power stations were built on assumptions of consistent rainfall, a bet that worked well in the early years of Zambia's independence. Starting around 2014, rains became unpredictable, the rainy season shortened, the droughts became longer and more frequent. Reservoirs that once beamed with energy potential now half empty. By 2023, the water level at Kariba was one of the largest man-made reservoirs in the world, had dropped to just 13%. Chapter 3, Blackouts and Broken Promises. As ZESCO crisis deepened, ZESCO resorted to extensive load shedding, sometimes 20 hours a day. Households adapted by investing in candles, generators, and solar lamps. The public's frustration grew with the distrust in ZESCO. Many accused the utility of favoritism, especially selectively sparing affluent neighborhoods from load shedding. Chapter 4, Light at the End of the Tunnel. Chapter 4, Desperate Measures. So faced with internal collapse, the government turned to external solutions. In 2023, Zambian government began importing 200 megawatts of electricity from Mozambique and South Africa. These imports came at a high cost, adding to ZESCO's financial burden. At the same time, government initiated tariff reforms, raising residential electricity by 67% between 2022 to 2023. PPPs were encouraged. Government worked with bilateral lenders and the green energy startups. Chapter 5, and light at the end of the tunnel, right? 2025, the situation began to ease. Rainfall levels were modestly improved, stabilizing hydropower output. Investments in renewable energy started to yield measurable returns. Smart metering was rolled out in Lusaka and the Copper Belt, reducing theft and improving billing accuracy. ZESCO emerged from the crisis bruised but wiser. Its journey became a case study of resilience, and light slowly turned to Zambia's homes and businesses. So the visual timeline of Zambia's energy crisis: 2014, onset of irregular rainfall; 2015-2016, a major load shedding event as Kariba levels went down; 2020, pandemic era recession put ZESCO in financial crisis; 2022, Kariba drops to historically low, copper output drops 12.4%. 2023, Zambia begins importing 200 megawatts from Mozambique and South Africa. 2024, tariff adjustments and plant development. 2025, blackout is renewable gaining traction. In infographic information, ZESCO by numbers. So 3.5 billion ZESCO's outstanding debt as of 2022. 13.1% Kariba usable storage early 2023. 20% energy loss during the transmission. Okay, so this is just a summary of the case study. So let's look at the possible questions that could characterize this case study and the solutions thereof. So explain the importance of food stage tangible indicators in shaping customer perceptions of service quality in a utility company like ZESCO. 5 marks. Evaluate whether all steps in ZESCO's service delivery process are necessary and suggest areas where the process can be optimized and automated. 3, identify and discuss potential fail points and waiting points in Zesco's service delivery system and suggest appropriate recovery and design strategies to address them. And question number 4, design a service process improvement plan to reduce customer waiting times and enhance service delivery efficiency in the power utility context. Okay, so question number 1, we're asked to identify the tangible indicators. Okay, the importance of food stage tangible indicators. That's 5 marks. So we're going to look at this first part here. So to start with, what do we understand by the term food stage tangible indicators? What are they? What are food stage tangible indicators? What are food stage tangible indicators? So when we're dealing with food stage tangible indicators, we're looking at indicators that are observable, indicators that are visible. When we're dealing with a service delivery that customers can directly interact with or perceive. So these indicators act as a physical proof of evidence of the service quality, and they actually serve as a first impression a customer can have of the company. So we have the SafeQ model that uses these indicators to bridge the gap between the expected service quality and the actual service that customers are expected to have. So the importance of having food stage tangible indicators, we're going to look at that. So these indicators are very important in shaping what? Customer perceptions, especially with regards to the intangible core service that Zesco has, which is power. So we are going to look at the tangible indicators in Zesco's context. What are the tangible indicators that we can look at based on the case study? So the tangible indicators that Zesco may have could, number 1, include a reliable power supply. Okay, so by reliable power supply, we are looking at the tangible, the consistent and reliable power supply, which is a key tangible indicator for Zesco. It reflects the operational efficiency and the service dependability that customers may have on Zesco. So customers here can directly experience the reliability of the service through continuous power provision, and interruptions and outages will be a clear negative signal about this service quality. The other tangible indicator in this context that we can look at from the case study should be the transparent load shedding schedules. So when Zesco will communicate the load shedding schedules transparently, it will help customers to plan and manage their activities. So this proactive communication will build trust and will enhance customer satisfaction. And customers can directly, even if there's load shedding, they'll evaluate their timelines accurately with the information shared. And the third tangible indicator that we're going to look at will be the timely response when there are faults. So when customers report faults, the speed and efficiency with which Zesco will respond is another tangible indicator in terms of responsiveness. So where there's a quick and effective response to issues of signals that a company cares about the customer. So it will signal that the customer has a broad face regardless of the situation they're going through. Then the other tangible factor you should look at or isolate from the case study is the ease of bill payment. So the availability of convenient payment methods like mobile apps or prepaid meters will make it easy for customers to settle their bills. A seamless and accessible payment process, a tangible representation of the customer's convenience and operational excellence. Then also the other tangible factor we're going to look at is the professionalism that the technicians will have, the way they interact with us customers, and the professionalism that they display on site, and their attire and demeanor. So these are the tangible issues or factors that will be looked at. So the second part was asking us to evaluate whether all steps Evaluate whether all steps in Zesco's service delivery process are necessary and suggest areas where the process can be optimized or automated. So looking at the second part here. Okay. Are all steps necessary? And what is the process optimization process and the recommendations? So to answer that, are all steps necessary? So in the service delivery systems, especially when you're dealing with companies like Zesco, every operational step has an impact in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency, in terms of customer satisfaction, but not all current processes will add value. Some may be outdated, some may be redundant, and others actually may be bureaucratic. So process automation is another important aspect that you need to look out for case studies because it focuses on you identifying and eliminating inefficiencies that will streamline the operations and also enhance service quality. So what is this process optimization? When talking about process optimization, we're looking at the practice of evaluating the existing workflows and eliminating all unnecessary steps like automation, manual automation, integration of digital tools to improve speed and accuracy and overall effectiveness. So in a service industry where Zesco falls, this process automation not only reduces costs, but it also enhances customer experience by shortening waiting times and also improving the responsiveness. So the recommended process automation for Zesco here in a crisis like this one would entail automating load shedding access using what is called GIS and AI. GIS is the graphic information system and AI is artificial intelligence. So with the current manual load assessment methods that Zesco is using, it is prone to human error. So delays in approval, inefficiencies, and also power distribution planning. So when they implement a GIS and AI, Zesco can automatically access the load requirements and also forecast the demand and optimize power distribution in different locations. So this will reduce the processing time and also improve accuracy. We're also looking at replacing the manual fault reporting where people would basically go to the substations or call centers with automated outage detection systems that would automatically detect where there is a fault or where load shedding has been done for a longer period of time. So relying on customer reported faults is more reactive and inefficient. So if Zesco could integrate a smart grid technology that will automate the outage detection for systems in Zesco, that is if they have capacity, that could be a suggestion you'd bring. So this will often help customers not always get to call the call center when there's a problem. It will be detected. And also having to digitize customer application and service requests. So the manual applications that currently Zesco is using for new connections and service requests has often been too long. So there are a lot of paper trails and inefficiencies and slow processing times where we have Zesco workers prioritize our clients based on affluence. So when you transition to a fully online portal, which will enable customers to apply for services and track processes. Of course, Zesco has one where people are able to track where using their complaint numbers, but it doesn't be efficient as such. So what are the benefits of having process automation? So I'm trying to bring out in most of the cases, based on my experience, what the lecturer will be looking for as they will be attending to this case study, issues of you identifying process automation. So the benefits of process optimization, number one, it reduces bureaucracy. So if you have a okay, so far are we following? Are we together? So we are trying to apply these questions to the case study. So we've explained the importance of front stage tangible indicators in shaping customer perceptions and service quality at a utility company like Zesco. So we want to evaluate whether all steps at Zesco's service quality process is necessary. Also identify and discuss the potential fail points and waiting points in Zesco's service delivery system and suggest appropriate recovery and design strategies that will address them. So this was a sample of the questions that was in 2021 paper, but for a different company. So we want to apply them with Zesco. So the set of questions that actually may come, we may just sample out from different questions. So let's answer this question together. Question number 3, let's identify the potential fail points and waiting points in Zesco's service delivery system and suggest appropriate recovery and design strategies that would address them. So question number 3, the fail points that we can identify. We have an issue here of power outages. The solution is that Zesco can invest in solar and wind, diversify the power sources. The other issue is application of backlogs. So Zesco can develop an online portal with auto tracking, which I talked about. The other issue is that of delayed fault repairs. So Zesco can decentralize units and use a GPS track response. The other issue we can talk about is the billing errors and delays. Zesco can install smart meters for digital accuracy. And poor blackout communication can send real-time SMS through app alerts and website updates. Okay. Question number 4, we are looking at the service process improvement plan to reduce waiting times. How can Zesco reduce the waiting times that customers have? So number 1, they could invest in a digital first approach where they will implement a 24/7 mobile service platform to attend to customers, which is happening. So it will enable customers to track their applications, payments, and faults. Secondly, they could have an automated workflow, which would be IA driven, so that it could approve some processes other than having a manual kind of way. And also could have a fault auto detection integrated with the response teams. Where there's a fault, you don't really need to report. It would just trigger that service. Is there a question? Yes, I'll share the material in the groups. Then another overall plan that you could suggest is zonal repair scheduling, where you're going to assign specific repair teams to certain regions to reduce travel. So instead of people waiting, they can just have zonal repair scheduling where each area has a team that would be on standby. And customer communication strategy, where you push notifications, chatbot, which is already there, and real-time updates. Okay. So this was based on a set of questions from the year when he sent a case study. So like I said, I'll do this case study in 3 ways, looking at the information that has been brought. So there are 3 papers that we're going to use to analyze the case study that I read. Okay, so let's get back to the exam papers. We've done question 2 already. Did you do question 3? Question 3, there is a trend of service delivery moving from high contact to low contact. Are service personnel still important in low contact services? Explain your answer. What is emotional labor? Okay, this question was repeated even last year's paper. And the other types of labor. Okay, question number part C. What are the factors that favor strategy of an employee empowerment? Then as human resource manager, what issues do you see as most likely to create boundary spanning problems for customer contact employees in a customer call center? So we also had this question in last year's paper. So let's start with part A. There's a trend of service delivery moving from high contact to low contact. Are service personnel still important in low contact services? Explain why. So what are low contact services to start with? What are low contact services?
Sorry, Collins, are we still doing the case study? This is another question.
It's another question. We're done with the case study. Like I said, the case study will be done using 3 sample set questions.
Have we also looked at the blueprint already?
Yes, we did the blueprint in the previous session. Did anyone miss the blueprint for a call center? The blueprint for a call center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for Zesco.
Okay, so let's look at question 1. So question reads, develop a blueprint for a service you're familiar with. We're going to use Zesco. The service blueprint must clearly show a flowchart with different stages of the service delivery process. On completion, you need to consider the following. What are the tangible indicators? Okay, what are the steps that are necessary for the location? And what are the possible measures? So we're going to look at the Zesco center. So those of you who've gone to pay for power, how is your interaction with the service? So we have firstly the customer visits the pay point. Okay, you wait for the customer will visit the center, number 1. That is on the customer action. Then he will pay the application fee. All right, we're looking at it from
Are you showing the diagram as well, or just verbally?
before I show the diagram, can somebody explain um, the service blueprint when you're applying for Cisco connection?
I think the first stage is the client, you walk into any of the Zesco service centers
Mm-hmm,
to make your application known.
mm-hmm.
Then from there, I think you are transferred to where you have to make payment. Then from there, after before making payment, I think they first enter your details into their system. Then after that is done, and then you make payment. And then I think from there, that's when you are connected. I don't know, I stand to be corrected.
Okay. What did I ask you? It's a discussion that those of you who've applied, we're going to look at from the customer's perspective, action. So the customer will first visit the what? The center. Okay. Then he will pay. So we're looking at it only from the customer's perspective now. So the customer will do what? Will visit the center, then will pay the application fee. Then together with the team from Zesco, they'll go for site inspection. Okay, then site inspection will be done. A quotation will be issued. Then the customer will approve. Okay, with the details that are there. Then connection will be scheduled. Then connection is done. Then the meter is activated, and customer will give feedback whether the work has been done. Are we agreeing with from the customer's perspective? So you can design this flowchart in your own angle. Then we go to the front stage, which is visible. So when the customer goes, he'll visit there. First, he'll make an online request. The staff receive the application. Then the cashier will issue a receipt, be logged in, then the technician will go with the customer to visit the site. The staff will share a quotation based on the site visitation. Then the customer will make the payment. This is from the front stage. Then the technician will install, then the staff will update the system to say the callings has been serviced. Then they'll receive an SMS confirmation from their database to say this has been done. In the backstage, which is invisible, what is happening? We're dealing with what? The technology. The technical officer will schedule for site inspection. So there'll be files. The supervisor will assign who will do the job. Then they'll fill the form if the job has been completed. So this is the backstage, the invisible stage. Okay, are we following? Are we together? Then we'll look at it from
Yes.
we'll look at it from now the support process. Okay. So from the support, we have the system will log in the customer data. Are you able to see my screen? So we have the system logs in the customer data. Then from there, what happens? The system will update the payment once the cashier issued the receipt. Then there'll be a dispatch unit that will confirm the staff will go to do the work. Then transport will be arranged to travel. These are support processes. Then finance will confirm when the payment has been made. Then the system will log in the transaction as done. The warehouse will provide the materials that will be used with poles and pylons. The material usage will be recorded and the IT team will supply. Now, the question of all these processes, are they all necessary? Okay, are all these steps necessary? Yes and no. If yes, why? If no, explain. So we've talked about all the processes from the perspective of the customer, from the perspective of the front stage, from the system's perspective, and now we also looked at it from the support perspective. So now the question is, we've identified the tangible indicators to start with in terms of quality. What are the tangible indicators that we're going to look at? So from the perspective of the customer or line feasibility, the tangible indicators that we talked about are well-documented application and the receipt, timely communication, which can come through SMSs, professionalism, which can be from the Zesco staff's perspective. Also, we can look at the tangible aspect, which would be successful electricity installation where you are going to receive the service itself. Now, the question is, are all these steps necessary? Most steps are, not all are necessary. So why are these steps necessary? The reasons are as follows. Number one, if we're talking about the step to do with customer application and payment, it's very important because it is this step that will be essential to initiate the process. We register the client in the system. The second one is site inspection. Is it important? Yes, because to ensure that the location is safe and there's technical feasibility for connection. So it will help the technical staff identify any risks, any illegal structures that are there that are unsafe. Then the quotation issuance, is it important? Yes, because it will give the customer a clear understanding of connection costs. So the quotation is important. So this step will enhance transparency and will allow the client to finally prepare financially. The step of customer approval and payment, it is important because to ensure that the client will agree with the terms and can afford the service. About scheduling and performing the connection, it is a critical one because the customer satisfaction comes from there. So scheduling and performing of the connection is critical for satisfaction because to mark the core, the service delivery, it's the essence. The meter activation and system update is important because to formalize connection and ensure that customer starts receiving the power. So that is how to answer the second part based on our case that we're talking about of installation. So, but C, the location of potential fail points, the waiting points, and how they could be designed out of the process if they're not prevented. What service recovery procedures could be introduced? Okay, so we're looking at part C and part D. So let's answer the part C, the location of potential fail points, the waiting points, and how they could be designed out of the process, or if they are not prevented, what service recovery procedures could be introduced. In part D, what are the possible measures of the process performance? Any response on part C? The location of potential fail points, the waiting points, okay? How could and how they could be designed out of the process if they cannot be prevented, what service recovery procedures could be introduced. So in this case that we're looking at, electricity connection service process at ZESCO, we have some fail points that we can look at and some waiting points that can be identified. So we can break them down as follows. Okay, so let's identify some fail points and waiting points. So we can look at the issue at site inspection. So there could be delays at that point due to limited staff. So what type of failure can we record in that context? That would be waiting point. Okay, so in your schedule, look at reason could be poor coordination or staff shortage. The other issue that we could look at would be quotation preparation. So there's a potential issue of delays or errors in cost estimation. So this is a fail point, and the reason could be maybe manual processing or miscommunication. And look at another issue of a customer payment approval. So the potential issue could be long queues or poor system performance. The type of failure would be a waiting point, and the reason could be the centralized system that follows a certain order. Then material dispatch could also be an issue. The potential issue could be that materials are out of stock, and this could be a fail point. And the reason could be there could be a weak inventory control system in Cisco. Lastly, but not the least, we can look at meter activation, which would have a potential issue of system failure or data mismatch. This could be a fail point, and the reason could be IT errors or back-end system lags can override that. Then part C or part D, what are the possible measures of process performance? What are the possible measures of process performance? What are the possible measures of process performance? What is process performance? When dealing with process performance, we are basically looking at how effective or efficient as ESCO in this case, being a business, could process its intended goals or output. So process performance looks at effectiveness, timeliness, compliance, and consistency. Okay, so the question is basically asking us to look at the possible measures of process performance. So we want to assess how service quality at ZESCO can be improved, looking at the KPIs. So we can look at these important KPIs. Number one is what we call turnaround time. Number two, we can look at, able to see my screen? Okay, there. Okay. So we're looking at the possible measures of process performance. So these ones are there to ensure that there's continuous improvement in electricity connection at ZESCO. So ZESCO can adopt these indicated performance improvement using KPIs. So these are indicators that we hope to have efficiency, quality, and responsiveness. So we can look at turnaround time. Turnaround time is basically the total time it will take the customer to submit an application to a point of successful connection. So the purpose of this TAT is to measure overall process efficiency. So here it targets the shorter TAT for better service performance. So it's used basically to help management identify delays in the chain and implementing time measures. The second one is a first contact resolution, FCR. So it looks at the percentage of service requests that are being resolved without a follow-up visit or repeated inspection. So when something has been reported, how many times do we go back to reclarify? The purpose of this is to indicate quality, competence of the field staff, and also process accuracy. So it is useful in that it's used to evaluate the training needs, the quality control, and technical accuracy. The other is customer satisfaction score, which is a rating obtained from customer feedback. Usually you receive messages on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your response? So it gauges the overall performance experience that customers will gauge based on professionalism and communication. So a target score of over 80% will indicate it's good performance. Then we also have queue and wait times. This is the average time that customers spend when they're waiting at service points. Then we have the connection failure rate. It looks at the percentage of the connection processes. Okay, so we'll end here for our blueprint. We'll have our next class later on at the session at 16.
Okay, so you're sharing the material and the recording just after this class?
Yes, I'll share the material.
Okay, please, so that we go through.